to do.
Okay, 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 stop. Stop it with the voices!
Okay, we're good now. Okay. Firstly, sorry everyone for the double audio and everything that's going on right now. Why am I hearing my voice still? Why? I'm hearing my voice echo it. Okay, we're good now. Sorry about that, everyone. Had a little bit of I had to make sure that my microphone was working. Firstly, let me say welcome, Michael, welcome, Kitty, and welcome, Nero Mastife. It's good to see you all here, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for me being a little bit late getting this reaction to you guys. Normally get it up at 12, but due to some things that my pastor is going to be doing, we had to record 2 services, so you don't have to worry. I will be here this upcoming Sunday because they gave us that day off due to us doing a double service and a double musical selection for praise and worship, so we're good there. You guys don't need to worry about that. But what is important right now is the fact that we go ahead and get started with this My Hero Academia brand new chapter. I've kind of been looking forward to it due to what happened in the last one, specifically with Nana Shimura appearing to Midoriya. Pardon me. Appearing to Midoriya within the One for All Dreamscape. I don't even know why I have these headphones on right now. I'm done checking for audio and everything like that. Got my phone camera here with the flashlight. I still need to get a professional light due to it being massively rainy, and therefore my normal natural light is not coming in as well. So let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way. Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here to bring you yet another reaction from My Hero Academia. So let's go ahead and get started with it, and thankfully, since I'm starting to stream at this time, the chapter's already out, and we can jump right into chapter 287. This chapter. Oh, we don't get a name yet, but we do have Nana Shimura standing up. Okay, let's get started. To think not even my death could keep us from meeting again, all for one. And this is Nana Shimura speaking right now. Still looking as brick as she wants to look. Chapter 287, Mistake. And she's standing there. That's Nana Shimura. We're inside One for All. But what's happening with Kachan and everyone else? Now looky there, Tomura. Wow, a dead person who happens to be your grandmother. The pathetic, incompetent Nana Shimura stands before us. We're in the middle of a transplant. There are stories of people whose personalities and tastes change after an organ transplant. Though it sounds rather occult, there's plenty of supporting evidence. As for me, I'm prone to the oddest dreams from time to time. In my dreams, those whose quirks I've stolen show up to hurl abuse my way. These episodes often leave me discouraged. Am I really capable of feeling guilt for my sins like some utterly ordinary person? But here's the strangest part. Once I get rid of a quirk, its former owner stops haunting my sleep. Bizarre, no? Especially since I'm certainly the type to hold a grudge myself. But my work with our good doctor revealed the root cause. Just as organs and cells house memories of sorts, every quirk factor contains a consciousness, the individuality of its wielder, if you will. As someone with the power to meddle with quirks themselves, I found myself in the unique position of being able to interact with those consciousnesses. Wow, okay. So, quirks... Wow, this pretty much just confirms what I said! The consciousness of All for One resides in his quirk! That's why he's affecting Shigaraki the way he is! And this applies to every quirk user, which is why Midoriya is able to see the previous users of One for All. Because the consciousness of a quirk's user, literally, the person's being is in that quirk. So if that quirk was to be able to be transplanted into another person, that individuality goes to that person along with the quirk itself. Yo, we're kind of finding out a little bit more and more about One for All. Let's keep going, let's keep going, let's keep going! As someone with the power to meddle with quirks themselves, I found myself in the unique position of being able to interact with those consciousnesses. And then Shigaraki's thinking back now to Gran Torino, saying, "Now quit trampling all over Shimura's memory. Nana, Shimura, Grandma, why were you?" And then it cuts to a flashback of him remembering when All for One was trying to get to Tomura. All of his family members were trying to hold him back. His grandma, his grandpa, his mom, his dad, and Nana Shimura as well. My bloodkin, too. My little brother, who had the power to grant his own quirk to another, could also meddle with quirks directly. When his original quirk mixed with the power stalking one, the resulting power became a sleeper car to carry consciousness forward to future generations. Anyhow, wouldn't you like to say hello? So you're Kotaru's son. No matter how we got here, Grandma, you can rest assured that I also hate you with all my heart. Not even giving his grandma a chance. But she can only look on solemnly. Then I guess there's cracks that goes across the ground as it makes its way to Nana Shimura. This One for All world is eroding! And this is Midoriya saying this. Good, Tomura. Your hatred is making its mark. The rule is that only the will of One for All's wielder can affect it, but your rage is starting to eat away at that very rule. And then those same lines start to go across All for One's body as well. Whoops, I nearly forgot. You hate me too. All the better. How fitting for the symbol of terror. And then the erosion stops. But still not enough, it seems. Since my... Oh! Yo! It's the first wielder of One for All! Since my brother is as obstinate as I am. So is he the next in line, brother? It's such a shame that I could never make you mine. We will never go to you. We have chosen to remain within this boy. And then the darkness that is surrounding One for All is literally getting pushed back. All for One's brother just raises his hands, and then the darkness starts to erode away. Yo, the power of the first user. Getting beaten back. That's the one power that never behaved how Master wanted. What the heck? Show me some power, Tomura. Combine your strength with my own, and we can steal them away. They are but a couple departed people who fell to me. Brother, you claim you've chosen this. No point in bluffing when I know the truth. I've seen it all through Tomura's eyes. This incredible power has been wasted on one who could protect neither friend nor teacher. They were forced to defend him, in fact. What's more, like his master, he's given himself over to blind rage. He finds himself immobilized, squirming about, helplessly watching on. Conferring this power to someone so worthless was a mistake. Really trying his best to demoralize everyone. All for One is such a great villain. No, it wasn't. Someone who exploits people like you could never understand what drives this boy to shed blood. He rages for the sake of others. For them, he does his best until he can do no more. This young man is possessed by a drive to save others that eclipses all common understanding. Our power is his, and we shall follow him. Yo, you better talk to this man. Yo, I'm loving Yes, I love this. I love this chapter so much. My goodness. Let's keep going. And then Midoriya gets up and actually starts moving towards Tomura. Then there's an explosion back in the real world, and both Tomura and Midoriya fall away. Did he steal it? No, he couldn't. See! I tried to tell you guys. And some of y'all were still saying, well, what if he gets his quirk? I told you guys from the get-go that One for All cannot be stolen. It has to be given. Moving on. If this chapter doesn't confirm that, then I don't know what else to tell you. Did he steal it? No, he couldn't. But Tomura, my quirk has not fully settled in your body, so you couldn't summon the power to steal his. Don't black out. Your body must achieve completion. Retreat, take stock, and live to fight on. My quirk hasn't fully settled into your body, so you couldn't summon the power to steal his. All for One doesn't even know that he can't just take the power of One for All. He don't even know. And the thing is, since the consciousness of the previous users of One for All reside within the quirk of One for All itself and in Midoriya, it's not like it's going to be so simple where he just goes and takes over. It's like the previous users got something to say about that. You ain't just going to take this power, no matter how hard you try. Shigaraki, please don't start moving again. And then there's just Giganto making his way towards him. Shigaraki's fighting Endeavor. Nice. Let's prep. Prep for what? Oh, prep for what? To tear down this fake hero society, of course. And this is Dabi speaking to that one dude with the long hair and the keyboard. To tear down this fake hero society, of course. Are you fine with this, Toga? You're awfully close to the edge. I know you've been scanning for them. Those UA scamps you love so much. They are heroes, too. Where do they draw the line? If heroes are supposed to save people, then was Jin not considered a person? Will they kill me, too? That's what I want to ask Izuku and Ochako. Depending on their answer, I'll be fine. Next chapter hits next week, so we're not going on break. The hits just keep on coming. Whew, this was a good chapter. It got me out of my seat, so this is an automatic 9. Yo, just the speech from the first user of One for All was amazing. Our power is his, and we choose to follow him. Yo! Okay, this chapter was great. Sorry if it took a little while for me to get this chapter out to you guys. Hello, I love pinching my cat with a nail clipper. Sorry it took me so long to get this chapter out to you guys, but it was well worth it. Such a great chapter. Oh my goodness, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this chapter. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed this chapter. And I managed to get through this relatively quickly. I'm surprised by that. But at the same time, I'm not. So, overall, this was a very good chapter. It got me up out of my seat, and only 9 out of 10 chapters tends to do that. But here, let's just go back a little bit, okay? Can we just go back and just reflect over what we just read for a quick moment, and then I'll call it here for a session. I still need to do my One Piece episode, but that's going to be after I go and get myself something to eat, because I have not eaten since this morning. I only had like a packet of mini blueberry muffins and an oatmeal cake, and that's all that I had to eat. I require sustenance. But seriously though, let's go back and review over this whole chapter as a whole. So, Nana Shimura's there. She sees her grandson for the first time since he's grown up, because she died before he grew up. And then All for One pretty much just tells us that the individuality of a quirk user resides within the quirk themselves. So all these quirks that All for One has in him I guess in his inner mind or in his inner world, I guess the inner world inside One for All, I guess inside All for One, he has to deal with the users of the quirks he's stolen. So whenever he sleeps, I guess he has to deal with the, who knows, the countless amounts of people of quirks he's stolen from, as their individuality resides within those quirks that he's stolen. He has to deal with them all the time. Whereas it's kind of like with One for All, you have the users in there, but it's not like they're hounding you all the time. All for One, it's that case, because some people, I'm pretty sure, were unwilling to give away their quirks to him, so he took them. So more than likely, the individuality of Ragdoll is in there, hounding him for taking her quirk, because that just came to mind. Because he took Ragdoll's quirk in order to be able to find people with quirks in order to scan other people. So more than likely, he has to deal with the individuality of Ragdoll in his mind, along with everyone else whose quirks he's stolen and taken. So can you imagine? Who knows how many quirks is in All for One's body, and the individuality of the person that quirk belonged to is inside of your mind, constantly hounding you and berating you and discouraging you for taking your quirk, and who knows what else in his mind. Can you imagine that going on for all these years, fighting all the previous users of One for All the way up until this point? But then he says that as soon as he got rid of those quirks, the voices of and the individuality of those users, they disappeared as well. So as soon as he discards a quirk, he discards that person's individuality from his mind. But the ones he keeps, they stay up in there, locked up in his noggin. But as you see, it's right here. There are stories of people whose personalities and tastes change after an organ transplant. It's just like a transplant. As for me, I'm prone to the oddest dreams from time to time, so they affect his dreams. The individuality of the people whose quirks he's stolen, they affect his mindset over a set period of time. From time to time, he says. In my dreams, those whose quirks I've stolen show up to hurl abuse my way. So he has literally nightmare after nightmare of all the people he's caused pain by taking their quirks. These episodes often leave me discouraged. Am I really capable of feeling guilt for my sins like some utterly ordinary person? He doesn't even consider himself or a person at this point. He just sees himself above regular people. Kind of like Homelander, a little bit. I haven't seen The Boys, so I can't really draw that comparison with the best kind of evidence. But from what I know of Homelander, he kind of sees himself as above other people and he can do whatever he wants. That's pretty much how All for One is. Am I really capable of feeling guilt for my sins like some utterly ordinary person? That word, that instance right there, utterly ordinary, which means that anyone who doesn't have a quirk or who he sees beneath them, he's got a bit of a god complex in a way. I feel like that would probably be even higher if he actually had that regeneration quirk that he sought after. And then his face wouldn't be as jacked up as it is, looking like the used up end of a pencil eraser. But here's the strangest part. Once I get rid of a quirk, its former owner stops haunting my sleep. So they literally just fade away. Bizarre, no? Especially since I'm certainly the type to hold a grudge myself. But with my work with our good doctor revealed the root cause. Just as organs and cells house memories of sorts, every quirk factor contains a consciousness, the individuality of its wielder, if you will. As someone with the power to meddle with quirks themselves, I found myself in the unique position of being able to interact with those consciousnesses. So, he is able to... What it seems like he's saying to me like this is, he's able to affect not only the individuality of the person who's in his mind, but also the memories as well. So with that being said, with All for One's individuality, I'm saying individuality a lot right now, but with the identity, I'm going to say that because that's a lot less syllables. The identity of All for One resides in his quirk that is in Shigaraki right now. So he's saying that he found himself in the unique position of being able to interact with those consciousnesses. So with that being said, it makes me think that since he knows he can meddle with quirks, it makes me think that with him implanting his identity in his quirk and residing in there, it allows him to take control, to a degree, the body of the person he implanted his quirk into. So even though he said like he wants Shigaraki to be the next him, it's kind of like, I'm going to implant my quirk into Shigaraki's body. But since quirks have and the thing is, he doesn't explain this to Shigaraki until right now, because now Shigaraki understands that, wow, All For One is here now. He's saying he can meddle with position being able to interact with these consciousnesses. It makes me think that since he's able to meddle with quirks already, his quirk being implanted in another body, along with his identity, will allow him to start to take over that person's body to a degree. Because he says he can affect consciousnesses as well. As you can see, in certain parts of Shigaraki's memory, All For One in real life was never there. But with All For One's identity being in his body now and in his mind, he's able to manipulate some of these thoughts to steer Shigaraki in the direction that he wants to. So, All For One has pretty much set himself up to be able to manipulate Shigaraki's mind in such a way that he could kind of create a brand new body for himself, if you wanted. But, given that Shigaraki's will is a little bit stronger than he was anticipating, it's making things difficult for All For One. So, yeah. But it's interesting because it gives cues to this when Gran Torino says, now quit trampling all over Shimura's memory. So did Gran Torino know that the identity of a quirk user can reside in their quirks as well? Because the users of One For All had to know that this was a possibility as well. I'm glad I'm not too late for the reaction. Hey, the real Greg McKinley! It's good to see you. We're just going through the review and everything and just going over these panels and giving what I think a lot of these things translates to as far as these characters are concerned. Because this is a real good chapter. It got out of my seat. It's a 9 out of 10. My blood kin too, my little brother who had the power to grant his own quirk to another, could also meddle with quirks directly. When his original quirk mixed with the power stocking one, the resulting power became a sleeper car to carry consciousnesses forward to future generations. So, what that means is that the little brother's quirk, One For All, works the exact same way as All For One's, but as far as, being able to keep consciousnesses, whereas All For One takes a person's consciousness into themselves with their quirk, One For All takes a person's consciousnesses within the next user, and then the user themselves continue to do that. For every user, the consciousness of that quirk user goes into the next person. So whereas All For One takes that in themselves without knowing, One For All does that. They pretty much do the exact same thing, whereas it requires All For One to take a quirk in order for that to happen. One For All users requires them to accept One For All in order for that to happen as well. So that aspect is literally this one and the same for One For All and All For One. The consciousness gets transplanted over to the next user. But the thing that differs from One For All and All For One is One For All cannot get rid of the quirks that it stockpiles, whereas All For One, he can just get rid of them. Since he has the ability to give people quirks, he then of course can get rid of quirks without having to put it into another thing. I'm late. We're talking to the review, so you're kind of late to the reaction, but it got me up out of my seat, so this is a 9 out of 10 chapter. It was great, I'm sir. So it was a really good chapter, though. So with one advantage that One For All has is that one, it still can't be taken. Like, even though he says, here's the thing. Even though he says that Tomura's body hasn't gotten to the point, it hasn't reached completion yet, he still insinuates that my quirk, like right here in pages 14 and 15, on the left-hand side. My quirk has not fully settled in your body, so you couldn't summon the power to steal his. I still don't understand, like, why All For One seems to think that you can just take the quirk of One For All. You just can't take it. That's why because think about it. That's the reason why All For One has never been able to get it in the past. If it was that easy to take the quirk from the previous users, then he would have done so already. But it's not something that you can just simply take. Or maybe there's a massive criteria that has to happen to the user of One For All before All For One is actually capable of taking it. Because due to the state that One For All is in right now, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Because in the past, there have been panels where we see the previous users of One For All giving the quirk to other users when they look like they're about to die. So maybe the user of One For All actually has to be weakened before the quirk can be taken. But if that's not the case, I'm just still sticking with the fact that One For All is too complex for All For One to take. I honestly feel, and I'm still going to stick with it until a chapter tells me otherwise, that One For All is just a quirk that All For One cannot physically take, even with his ability to steal quirks. I'm still going to hold fast to that. Sure, that's a nice theory I just did, but I honestly feel like you just can't take One For All. It's the one power that All For One cannot have. So I'm still gonna stick with that. I'm just gonna stick with that. But he says my quirk has not fully settled into your body, so you couldn't summon the power to steal his. My thing is, what makes All For One think that he's just gonna be able to take One For All so easily? It's not gonna work that way. Don't black out. Your body must achieve completion. Retreat, take stock, and live to fight on. So with Makia making his way towards where Shigaraki is, I feel like the big fight between Shigaraki and all the rest of the heroes, I feel it has reached near its end. Shigaraki is not going to be taken in, but Maki is going to come in and interrupt everything, and then going to make a hasty retreat as everyone starts to recover from their wounds. I feel like that's what's going to happen. Because Maki is on a one-track mind of getting to where Shigaraki is. But we're going to have to see what happens in the next chapter. Because both of them are falling away from each other. Both are bloodied and beaten. Midori is literally bleeding from his face and everywhere else. And it doesn't... I can't tell. Is he still floating in the air? I can't tell. But it just brings up a whole nother set of issues that's gonna be popping up, because Dabi, Compress, and Toga, they're with Makia right now, and Toga's kind of musing over the fact, like, if heroes are supposed to save people, then was Jin not considered a person? Will they kill me too? That's what I want to ask Izuku and Ochako. Depending on their answer, I'll be fine. So, given the fact of how close she was to Twice, I feel... well, who knows what's going to happen? Because depending on the answer she gets from, Uraraka and Midoriya, she could either go on a massive rampage and start trying to kill people, or what? I don't even know. Because Toga is kind of a little bit of a... I want to say that out of everyone in the group, Toga is the wild card. A little bit more than Dabi, but Toga's kind of the wild card. Gravity Girl suspect? Well, it's kind of hard to tell from this one panel. But maybe she's making her way to a different city or a different location, or she could just still be evacuating people. It's hard to tell at the moment, but we're gonna have to find out the next time in the next chapter, which pops up. Wow, I was wrong. the next chapter is not coming out next week. It's coming out Friday. Well, I was wrong. We're getting 2 My Hero Academia chapters in the same week. Well, what do you know? So it looks like I'm going to be doing yet another reaction within this Friday then, which means depending on where they end the chapter for this upcoming chapter on Friday, we could be seeing yet another one either Sunday, or they may take a break since we're getting one on Friday. But we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see, ladies and gentlemen. I've already gone on 30 minutes and I've been rambling, so firstly, apologies for, eating up so much of your time here at the moment. Once again, apologies for being late with this reaction for you guys. Thank you for understanding. It's just that sometimes these things pop up, and I had to get rid of the stream I had earlier because it wouldn't let me change the schedule time from my phone. YouTube needs to kind of work on that so that I can actually change the update time from that. After hearing the Vestiges say they want to stay with Midoriya, do you think One for All can refuse a transfer from one user to another? That's actually a good question. Because what if the users wanted to stay with All Might? And even though he would have told Midoriya to eat one of his hairs to, take that DNA into himself, what if the users chose to stay with him and not be imbued in his body at all? Peculiar. Which means that the previous users, the Vestiges, wow, that's actually a better way to put it. The Vestiges of One for All have some degree of control over whether they want to be taken or not. And seeing as how the All for One's brother just literally put his hands up and it started to beat back the darkness of All for One trying to take over, it just reinforces the idea that One for All is not so easily taken. You would have to get the users to concede to you, the previous vestiges of that power to concede to you and give up. But since the first user by himself was enough to literally sever the link of All for One, Shigaraki, and Midoriya from each other, and you still got the other users in his body, you gonna have a hard time trying to take this power. Which just reinforces my idea that you can't just simply take One for All. You got to go through the 7 layers of users before they say it's okay, you may pass. Okay, this now got my brain thinking that One for All is a lot more complex now that the first user said that. We choose to stay with Midoriya because he uses this power to help others, even at the expense of his own body. Hold on, I gotta read that before I go. I gotta read that. All for One says, this incredible power has been wasted on one who could protect neither friend nor teacher. They were forced to defend him, in fact. What's more, like his master, he's given himself over to blind rage. He finds himself immobilized, squirming about, helplessly watching on. Conferring this power to someone so worthless was a mistake. Or maybe 4 out of 7, because, All Might and... well, still, there's like a whole bunch of different layers that they would have to go through. No, it wasn't. Someone who exploits people like you could never understand what drives this boy to shed blood. And then it shows Midoriya actually hitting the ground and lifting himself up off the ground. He rages for the sake of others. For them, he does his best until he can do no more. This young man is possessed by a drive to save others that eclipses all common understanding. Our power is his, and we shall follow him. And then it shows Midoriya launching towards Shigaraki. And then there's an explosion. And then it shows both Midoriya and Shigaraki separating. And it's a massive explosion because there's a shockwave from them separating. And then it concludes with Makia making his way towards everybody with Toga thinking about heroes, and it shows Uraraki at the end. So yeah, this was a fantastic chapter. Hey Jaden, what's going on? Sorry you coming in at the very end of my stream. But all in all, this was a great chapter. It's got me thinking about the more intricate parts of One for All. All for One explaining how the identity of quirk users can reside within their quirk. So even if they're transplanted to another user, to another person's body, the identity of that person stays with them. So a facsimile of that person is now in that other person. And depending on the user themselves, depending on the previous quirk user, that person's identity could possibly have an influence over the current user's body, as you see with All for One trying to take control of Shigaraki's body. So it just gives... Quirks are a lot more complex than we originally thought. And we're finding out more and more through this exposition here. This is what you call good exposition. Not exposition like, as you know, as you know, as you know. If you say as you know, then we already know, then you don't need to tell us. So is that it? One for All is gone? No, it's not gone. It's still in his body. Because if you look at the chapter, is that it? One for All is gone, or All for One is gone? No. All for One is not gone. Because if you see in this last panel where it shows Midoriya, then it shows Makia down at the bottom, the inner voice of All for One is still in Shigaraki. So he's saying, my quirk has not fully settled in your body, so you couldn't summon the power to steal his. Still don't understand why All for One thinks that he's just going to steal that power. Don't black out. Your body must achieve completion. Retreat, take stock, and live to fight on. So the identity and individuality of All for One is still there. Still rummaging around in the gears of Shigaraki's mind. And One for All is still in Midoriya. So we don't need to worry. He did not steal it. He still had the All for One aura. Specifically, the speech boxes when Shigaraki's flying backwards from Midoriya off to the side. So All for One is still there. Plotting. Planning. Meticulous planning, tenacity spanning, decades of denial is simply wild. Heal. I think something's gonna happen to Toga, and I'm scared. Also, Dabi doesn't really... Dabi does not care at all. All he cares about is destroying this big hero society. And there's still some theories concerning Dabi and who his identity really is, because Dabi is just his villain name that he uses, the only name he goes by. The name that he revealed to Hawks has yet to be shown. So who knows what's going to happen when Dabi and Endeavor reunite, because they haven't seen each other since the high-end city fight back then, where Endeavor beat high-end, got that scar on his face. So we haven't seen them since then. They haven't seen each other since then. So who knows what's going to happen when Compress, Toga, Dabi all convene with one another. But we'll have to figure out the next time when we look at the next chapter. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been such a fun stream to do for you guys. Thank you for your continued support of this channel. You guys don't even know. I am truly honored to be a YouTuber that you guys come by and see. I know I may not be the most professional, most high-end, most, popular of YouTubers out there that does this sort of thing, but I'm just honored that I have a group of people like you who, are understanding when I can't do things on time, are just understanding of how much effort I put into this. It really does mean a lot to have people like you who show up to this channel and make it a welcome place for people to go to. It really does mean a lot to me. You guys don't even know how encouraging it is to see those likes pop up on a live stream that I haven't even started for another 4 hours, just because it's what I do and the entertainment that I bring you guys. It really does mean a lot. I thank you. I'm going to constantly thank you. I know you guys always thank me, but I'm thanking you because you guys are an encouragement to me. It really does do me a lot of. It makes me proud to know that the efforts I'm putting into are actually making a difference. So, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're here on my channel for the very first time and you enjoyed what you saw here today, because I'm not going to ask you at the beginning of my videos without you having even seen anything at all. It's kind of like, if you liked what you saw here today, then maybe consider subscribing, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So with that being said, have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.